Thanks for joining the Savvy Ladies Wednesday Wisdom webinar. I'm Maggie Montemuro, and I'm the Marketing Manager at Savvy Ladies. If you have any questions during the webinar, please type them into the chat box, and if you're joining us by phone, email your question to info@savvyladies.org. Today's presenter is Jeanne Demers, founder and director of Realize Arts and Education, Inc., a not-for-profit. One of the organization's programs, Realize Your Money Goals, helps people who struggle with an inner glass ceiling uncover and clear their inner programming in the way of marketing themselves boldly, attracting their ideal clients, and earning like the rock stars they are. Jeanne's background as an arts educator helped her become a tapping into wealth coach and makes her especially good at inspiring adults to search for what's in the way of the financial life they deserve. Thanks for being with us, Jeanne, and I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Maggie, for that introduction, and welcome everyone. So yes, I'm Jeanne Demers, and let me progress. Oh, next slide. There I am. That's me in my dollar bill dress, y'all, saying I can help you, because I really do believe that I can help you. Not just because I'm dressed for success in this darling little dollar bill dress that my brother, who helps me with my slides, made for me, but because I have great content to share with you. And I'm going to pack in as much as I can in the next 30 or so minutes that we have together. And it's my goal to give you exactly what you need to help you get clear so that you can clear your inner money blocks. And some of you are going to be quite taken by the power of this information, and you're going to want to take the work further. So I promise you at the end, I will share with you the way that you can do that. But onward, because we've got some ground to cover, and I want to start with what we'll learn today. So what I'm going to walk you through today is going to allow you to see, maybe for the first time, and with great clarity, what the 5 different kinds of money are. Because money takes different shapes in our lives. And what the 5 kinds of money trigger in us very specifically are emotions and programmed beliefs. That's what's connected to each of them. Then there's how and why that's holding you back in your money. And what's interesting about that is mostly what's there that's holding us back is hidden. So I am going to take you through a process of mapping and measuring and clearing your blocks. We're really not going to have time to get fully into what the clearing is like, but we're really going to be able to see what's involved in mapping and measuring what's there. So, sound like a good time? Yeah, it's not. It is, in fact, provoking. It's very provoking, this work. It's the nature of it. It's designed to, I hate to say it, it's designed to make you uncomfortable. And it's not the part of this work that I, as a longtime people pleaser, enjoy about it. I hate taking people there, but it's necessary. And I really feel called to do this work, even though that's what it entails. In part, Maggie touched on it with sharing with you what my background is like, but I want to share, this is where I segue into what my big why is for doing this work, and why it is that I feel like everything that I have done with my life up until now makes me perfect for the job of helping people with their money blocks. And it's not because I've been an expert in money, it's because I've been an expert with blocks. Yep, blocks, they're my thing. Now this that I'm sharing here, this is an early piece of artwork, and I'm sharing it with you because it's proof that I've made a career out of turning my blocks into not only little works of art, but the way in which I work with young people. So I founded back in the 90s a not-for-profit, Realize Arts and Education, because I felt very strongly about the arts being in schools, and they were being taken out for some bizarre reason. So in my quest to bring the arts to kids, I was like, what do I have to bring them? And what I had to bring them was whatever I was up against at the time. So I'd bring it to them and say, wanna look at this with me using the arts? And one of the first things that I brought to them, because I was actively up against putting my voice out into the world, was that, like, how do you put your voice out into the world when it feels so incredibly scary? And so that little character sitting there on one of her blocks is Ruby. So I brought my little cartoon character, Ruby, in her 2.0 version to girls. And I said, what do you say we figure out, using the hero's journey story structure, how to find, shape, and share our great girl voices? And I really think this is some of the best work that I ever did. And as it will go, it was great for helping me to get my voice out into the world, but it revealed to me my next big block, which was struggling with what a lot of people struggle with, I came to find out, but not good enough can be absolutely crippling. So that block got explored as I worked on with the We Stop Hate community, which was an anti-bullying movement that I was fortunate enough to be a part of because of the people the kids that I was plugged in with. And out of the We Stop Hate movement came the book Flawed: How to Stop Hating on Yourself, Others, and the Things That Make You Who You Are. And in the process of writing this book, which is a gem of a book, not because I wrote it, but because it's filled with quotes from teenagers who were part of the We Stop Hate movement, saying, you know, you're plenty good enough, and you're not plenty good enough in spite of your flaws. You're plenty good enough because of your flaws. And the writing of this book so internalized that message in me that I ended up being able to address my next big block. I had the courage to confront what felt so shameful, so embarrassing, and so hateful about myself, because I just couldn't seem to figure out the way through it, which was my blockedness around money. Yes, but I did find the courage to go there, and oh boy, did I go there, with the creation of, which brings us to where we are today, Realize Your Money Goals. But first, before I could actually bring that to anyone and ask them to explore this particular block of mine with me, I needed to, do some research. And in the process of researching it and being creative with it, I was fortunate enough to come into contact with what I believe is the stuff of all stuff. And that is the work of the wonderful Margaret Lynch, who is the author of the book Tapping into Wealth. So as I was getting creative with my biggest, baddest, best block, I became a certified Tapping into Wealth coach. And I'm so proud of this because I am blown away by what all is involved in one going into this work personally, and then what it is to bring it to other people. So that brings us right around to what we're up to today. So I'm going to bring it to you, and I'm going to ask you that, because I am really much better at working with kids, I would love to invite you to access the kid in you. Because really, what are we? But we're kids. We're kids who grew up. We're kids who, I don't know if I didn't really grow up. I just got older. But the kid in us is totally where it's at when it comes to this work. And that's why I feel uniquely qualified to take people into what can be uncomfortable, provoking, yucky, ucky places when it comes to uncovering and doing the work involved in clearing money blocks. So, kids, what we're going to do first in order to go into this work is we are going to create the space of transformation, because that's what we're after with this work. Nothing less than a transformation. And to do it, you are going to need handy pen and paper. So go run and get if you have not got already, and we will wait for you. You definitely are going to need pen and paper. And for those of us who already have pen and paper handy, what we're going to do while we're waiting is we're going to breathe. I feel like I've been racing through this material and I need a breath. So please breathe with me. And if you're back from getting your pen and paper, don't sit down. Everybody else, stand up on your feet, everybody. And assume with me, if you would, the Wonder Woman stance, also known as the Superman stance, because it's not gender specific. You have your feet firmly planted on the ground, further than hip width apart. Your hands are on your hips. Your chest is open and you are looking out and you are smiling. And you are going to join me in setting an intention. Ready? You're going to do it by repeating after me, aloud and with feeling. I intend. I intend willingness. The willingness to look places I may not have looked before. And to leave no stone unturned in my quest to shift the way my money is. Fantastic. And now you are going to go from the Wonder Woman stance into the classic stance of achievement, which involves bringing your 2 feet together and your arms up into the Y position, head looking up at the ceiling, and you're going to say, yes. Yes. All right. Sitting down. Whew. I feel ready. Do you feel ready? You got to be ready for this work. The work of going in and looking in a very specific way at money. Okay? And not just money, but as I said earlier, the 5 kinds of money. So what are the 5 kinds of money? They are savings, debt, income, income goals, and toxic money. Yeah, most of those you know what they are. Toxic money you may not. But the reason that there are 5 kinds of money is because when you talk about money in terms like abundance or prosperity or wealth or even just money, it's too generalized. It's not specific enough. When we do get specific and we say something like, let's talk about your savings, or let's talk about your debt, that creates a little bit more of a reaction in people. It's a little bit more provoking. And that's what we're after. A reaction is what you need if you want to shift your money reality. So I'd love it if I were able to take you through all 5 of these kinds of money, but I'm not able to do that because time does not permit. I'm going to take us very thoroughly through one kind of money, and that will give you exactly what you need to know to take yourself through the rest of the kinds of money on your own, if you are so inclined. Okay, moving right along. The first important thing that you need to know about the 5 kinds of money is that each kind of money has 3 unique aspects. And we can drill down into each of the 5 different kinds of money and get really specific by saying, first of all, attached to each kind of money are emotions. Physical, bodily emotions that run through your nervous system. And you could say they blast through your nervous system, because each kind of money is going to trigger an emotional response. And emotions, when you get curious and a little bit investigative with them, is like, oh, an emotion is a thought that is accompanied by some physical sensations, right? So emotions are very physical things. They travel through our body and they travel via the nervous system, which I think is fascinating. The nervous system is really a big part of the work. Second unique aspect is that each kind of money will have specific programmed thoughts and beliefs that create habitual inner talk that plays on a loop, like a recording in your head, and it doesn't really get questioned, it just plays. All right, and the third one is that sometimes, quite often, not always, but quite often, there are past traumas that are connected to the different kinds of money. And I know that might sound funny to have, not funny, haha, but funny, odd, to imagine that somehow, somewhere along the way, something upsetting got wired in and connected to money for you. And then what that does is it supercharges a negative reaction. All right, so there it is. That's it. We have what we need now to start looking at our money in a way that many of us may never have looked at it before. I sure had not. And today we're going to do it with savings. Okay, so get your pen and paper, and I want you to write down how much money do you have in your savings account right now? And I mean liquid savings, not equity in your house, not your retirement fund, but money that you could actually access right now if there were an emergency. Okay, I'm going to have you write that down. And I really want you to just look at that number and sit with it. And notice if you're starting to already experience a feeling about it. Now, maybe you're someone who has a lot of savings, and so this isn't going to bring up anything except, I'm good with that. And if that is the case for you, then I want you to do this. I want you to put your hands together, and I want you to look upward and say, thank you, this is not my issue. But then I want you to think about the other kinds of money, one of the other kinds of money. Is it debt? Is it income? Or is it a goal that you have income-wise that's been hard for you to reach that you'll use in place of savings as we go through this process, okay? But for the rest of us, we're going to stick with savings. Okay, so we're going to very specifically notice what are the two main things that appear, the two main feelings, and how strong are they? And what I mean by how strong are they is on a scale of 1 to 10, if 1 is like, you know, I'm fine, I barely feel anything at all, and 10 is, oh my God, this is so intense, I'm clicking out of this webinar. Don't click out, don't click out. I want you to put down the number that it is for you, an actual number next to the feelings that you wrote down. And it's okay if you're not sure, just guess how strong it is. So the most common things that I hear when people do this is anxiety, because there's a sense of, oh my God, if I don't have enough savings, what if something happens? So anxiety and fear are very common. And another one that I get a lot is sadness. Looking at your savings or the lack of it can start to bring up a sense of loss, a sense of, oh, I don't feel safe. And I've never felt safe. Okay, so anxiety and sadness, those are very common. But write down what it is for you. And next, what do you say in your head? What's already starting to run through your head as you look at this number? And just take a second and hear it, because it's probably gone around a few times already. What's going on in your head? What do you say about it? And just write the whole thing down. It can be a little rambly sometimes. I'm upset. I'm a failure. It's not enough. Whatever it is, just think about the fact that savings really represents safety and security when you think about it, because savings means that it's a buffer that keeps you safe. Because if you've got $20,000 or $30,000 of savings, then you feel pretty safe. You're like, all right, if something happens, like I lose my job, then I've got X number of months of living expenses. So savings as an energy has a feeling of safety and security, like a secure sense of abundance and resilience and feeling like you're more empowered. But on the other hand, if there is a lack of savings, then the consciousness that you have when your savings account number passes through your mind, if it's shame or sadness or embarrassment or fear or anxiety, and that's what's happening somewhere inside of you, that's actually taking a toll on you. All right, we're going to move on to the third piece, which is this making you think about a past event? Maybe something that created a big loss for you, losing safety and security. Or maybe something that was really disappointing, something that affected your savings. Is there a past event that seems connected? Now, what's interesting is because sometimes it's not always going to be money related. I've heard people say, you know, this is so weird, but what I'm thinking about is when I was young and my dad lost his job. Or something like we moved to a different area and all of a sudden everything that used to feel safe was scary. If that's what's coming up, trust it. That's a connected trauma. All right. And one last thing that we're going to look at is when you look at your savings account number, I want you to fill in the blank. I want you to look at your savings and say, this means I'm, and fill in the blank. So is anyone getting, this means I'm a loser, this means I'm not safe, this means I'm so screwed, this means I'm a failure? And do you start to see how connected it is? So this, I'm sorry to do it. It's a horrible feeling to be sitting in this space, but it is actually really important. These are strong emotions and programmed beliefs that are wired into your savings. And the way that we find them is by looking in this very specific way. And we're going to make it a little bit worse by asking some hard questions. Questions like, how long has it been this way? And how much has this cost you? And how much is it going to continue to cost you? Painful questions. But pain and cost are clarifying. That's the upside of them. They are clarifying and they are motivating. And so the idea is we want to get clear. In order to be able to clear them out, we first have to get clear about what all is there. And this I'm going to take you through fairly quickly because I see we're already getting close to the half-hour mark. But you've done the hard work. You've done the hard work of really sitting with what comes up for you around your savings. So thank you for your willingness to go there. And let me share with you what is something that feels like what you're saying and what you're feeling is because of your savings. But the fact of the matter is, we've got it backwards. The way it really works is that your feelings are not because of your money situation. Your money situation is because of your feelings about it. Okay? Are you getting that? I'm going to say it yet another way because this is this important. You have unconsciously manifested your money to match what you learned about the way things are, the way things should be, the way it will be, the way the world is, or the way that things just are for people like us, people from our family, people from our social class. All right? Letting that land. You've unconsciously manifested your money to match the feelings. Your feelings about money create your situation with money, not the other way around. And I say it that many times because that's really central to the process of uncovering and clearing our money blocks, is really getting that feelings are where it's at. That's what we're going to need to go after. That's what we're interested in healing. And sometimes we have some very painful emotions. Money brings up some of the worst human emotions there are. Anxiety is among the worst. Shame is among the worst. And if you are still in the space of feeling some stressful emotions around this, we're going to shift into administering to ourselves a little self-compassion here. Because really, we can see now what it is that we've been up against and why we've been so hard on ourselves. I've been hard on myself around my money stuff. I'm imagining you've been hard on yourself around your money stuff. But it's really a matter of seeing why. Why? And are you starting to understand why now, why we go through what we go through around money? It's what has been wired into our system. That's what we are up against, what we have been up against, and what we are up against until we do the work of clearing it, which we're going to get to, but not before we celebrate. This is a very, 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 very important part of the process of uncovering and clearing. We don't celebrate successes, we celebrate progress. And you showed willingness. If you really did that exercise, that took great willingness. So yay you and yay me. We really, really did some excavating there. But here's the thing, all of that excavating is like all for nothing if we don't go further with it. So let's just do this before we go into going further into what clearing it is going to entail. We're going to really be with and have a moment of consciousness around what it is that was uncovered. So my nervous system is wired to connect these emotions with money and wealth. What were the ones that came up for you? And I habitually say these things to myself about money and about myself, but they're not true. What are the things that you say? And together, these things remind me of, and is there some kind of connected trauma, something that you remember that just springs to mind? All right. So that is what's involved in doing a self-diagnosis. You're able to say now, the main money emotions I should focus clearing are, and the big beliefs I'm battling with are. And when you're, oops, I went too fast. When you're able to see with great clarity what needs to be cleared, then we're able to move on to the work of clearing it. And in order to clear it, we bring in an incredible modality called tapping. Some of you already are familiar with tapping because it's something that's in the mainstream now. And there's tons of information about it that you can go check out online. It's also known as the emotional freedom technique. And what is it? Tapping is a modality, and it's the primary modality that I use as a tapping into wealth coach because it's used for healing the emotions. Yeah. And negative emotions are nothing more than a disturbance in your body's energy system, otherwise known as your meridian system. And tapping works by clearing out the disturbance that is in your body's energy system. And it works by, if you don't know, tapping is a simple matter of using a couple of fingers. We're going to say, take your index finger and your middle finger, and you see there on the diagram, you're going to tap on, use the tips of your fingers to tap on the points. Inside of your eyebrow, that's one point. Outside of the eye, so it's like right on the rim of the eye socket, right on the bone. And then under eye, right on the bone. Under your nose, your chin, right in the cleft of the chin. Collarbone point, it's a great point. Under your arm, right at the bra line. Wrists together, I do wrists together, I learned that. And then there's the karate chop point on the side of your hand and the top of your head. So all around the top of your head. So you tap on those. The tapping points are actually meridian points. That's why we tap on those specific points. And yeah, the reason why, bringing it back to money blocks, you would use tapping is because money, as we have just discovered, is a mind-body issue. Yes, and tapping is one of the most effective mind-body tools there is. Money triggers the stress response, and tapping turns off the stress response. It interrupts it. It deregulates it. The stress response is also known as the fight or flight response, and that's what we go into when we get triggered by money. So there you go. I kind of sped, I felt, a little bit through the second half of that because I got concerned about time, but that is it in a nutshell. Would go further into tapping if I had more time. That's a webinar unto itself. And really, if you are interested, as I imagine some of you may be, taking this work further, then I would invite you to contact me at Jeanne at realizeyourmoneygoals.com. And if you let me know that you come via Savvy Ladies, if you let me know you're part of the Savvy Ladies community, what I'll do is I will, for the first 10 people that I hear from, and for everyone after, for the first 10 people, I will offer you a one-on-one session taking you through a full money map, the full money map process. So exactly what we did today, but doing it with all of the kinds of money: debt, income goals, and toxic money, as well as savings. And for those of you after 10 people, I'll take you through it too, but we'll do it as a webinar. Okay? And I'm going to say that the offer is going to expire August 31st, 2016, just because this may be up much longer than, the next month or so. And that's really it. That's what I have to share with you. So thank you. Thank you for allowing me to share what I feel is just really powerful work that is out there in the world to be taken advantage of right now. And I'll give it back to you, Maggie. Yeah.
Thank you. So I'd like to let everyone know, if you have any questions, you can type them into the chat box here or email info@savvyladies.org. And one of the questions we had come in is, once I've identified my inner talk that's connected to money, what are some things you would recommend to help me change that inner talk so I can have a better relationship with money?
Right. Great question. So once you've identified it and the inner talk, so that you can have a better relationship with money, is understanding that it is programming. And the work of tapping is, you would just say what it is that you think. And let's say, it's, oh my God, I'm such a terrible money manager. Say that's the thing that comes up for you. It would be a process of using that, which sounds like a negative affirmation, and you would tap on it. And you would go through all of those tapping points that I just shared with you, saying, I'm such a terrible money manager. I'm such a terrible money manager. I'm such a terrible money manager. And by the end of having done that a couple of times, going through all of the tapping points, you see, is it the same or is it different now? You measure it, you feel, what's the intensity of this when you begin, and then you measure it again at the end and you see what's the intensity of it now. That's the clearing process. So that's what I would suggest. And then it's interesting because you can go from there to programming in what it is that you'd much rather have as a belief and inner self-talk around money. So I'm a great money manager. I am really good at managing money. I can handle more money because I'm such a great money manager. And then you do that going through all of the tapping points. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you. And following up on that, we had some questions come in about tapping, so I'll combine them here. Asking if it's something you can do by yourself or you need to be guided by someone, and also is it something you can do with a friend or should you do it just by yourself?
The answer is it is wonderfully versatile. You can do it alone, you can do it with people, you can do it with a coach, or you can do it all by yourself. And I started off doing it alone and found that eventually I wanted to get a coach to help me with it because stuff was coming up for me. And I really felt like I needed to be guided through the process. And I find that there are no shortage of YouTube videos on tapping. So investigate, go and see, just type in tapping or EFT and specifically what it is that you'd like to tap on, whether or not it's money or you can apply tapping to literally everything that triggers the stress response. I happen to focus on money, but it's really applicable to so many things. So yes, by yourself or with others or with a coach.
Okay, good to know. Well, I want to thank you, Jeannie, for a really great presentation, and thank you also for your offer to Savvy Ladies, and we'll send that out to everyone as well. And I want to thank everyone who joined us today, and we hope you'll be joining us again. Thanks again so much, Jeannie.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye, everyone.